Dr. Colin Thatcher stared at the console, transfixed by the distress signal blinking in urgent red. The message, barely decipherable, came from an uncharted sector. He knew the risks of leaving his post at Outpost 47, but something about the garbled plea compelled him to act. His heart raced as he gathered his medical kit and prepared his small exploration craft, his colleagues' warnings echoing in his mind. Outpost 47, a solitary medical station on the fringe of explored space, had become Colin's sanctuary and prison. The daily routine of treating minor injuries and routine checkups for the diverse beings passing through had begun to dull his once fiery passion for medicine. This unexpected call for help ignited a spark within him. He had to go. Ignoring the protocols designed to keep him safe, Colin embarked on the journey alone. The planet's atmosphere was thick with turbulence, each jolt of his craft reminding him of the dangers ahead. He landed near the signal source, his senses on high alert. The environment was hostile, with swirling storms and unfamiliar wildlife. As he navigated the treacherous terrain, Colin stumbled upon the source of the distress call. A young alien girl, lying unconscious and severely injured. Her appearance was unlike anything he had encountered. Her skin glowed faintly with an iridescent sheen, and her wounds emitted a soft, almost ethereal light. Colin's medical training kicked in, and he quickly set to work stabilizing her condition. The tools he had brought were advanced, but they seemed primitive against the complexity of her injuries. His hands moved with practiced precision, his mind racing to adapt his knowledge to her alien physiology. As he worked, the girl stirred, her eyes fluttering open. Fear and confusion clouded her gaze. Colin used his translation device to communicate, his voice gentle and reassuring. "You're safe now. I'm here to help you." The words seemed to reach her, and she relaxed slightly, though her eyes remained wary. Her name was Erin, and her story unfolded slowly as she regained strength. She had fled from captors who sought to exploit her unique abilities that were still a mystery to Colin. The more he learned, the more determined he became to protect her. She was more than just a patient. She was a key to something greater, something that he couldn't yet fully comprehend. Their moment of relative peace was shattered by the blaring alarms of Colin's ship. A hostile craft was approaching, its intentions clear. The Zarians, known for their ruthless tactics and insatiable greed, had tracked Erin down. Colin's mind raced as he assessed their options. They had to move, and quickly. He guided Erin to a nearby cave, using his knowledge of terrain and survival to find a temporary refuge. Inside, the environment was damp and dark, but it offered some protection from both the elements and their pursuers. Colin continued to treat Erin's injuries, using what little he had left. The situation grew more dire as the Zarians closed in. Outside, the storm intensified, battering their hiding place with relentless force. The native wildlife, drawn by the disturbance, added another layer of danger. Colin's resolve was tested as he balanced the immediate threat with the need to keep Erin safe and stable. Through it all, Erin's trust in Colin deepened. She revealed more about her abilities, explaining that she could heal others, but at a great personal cost. This revelation added weight to their predicament. The Zarians would stop at nothing to capture her, seeing her as a means to their own ends. As the Zarian soldiers scoured the area, Colin used his medical knowledge creatively. He set up non-lethal traps and distractions, buying them precious time. The tension mounted, each moment bringing them closer to discovery. Yet, amidst the chaos, a bond formed between Colin and Erin, one built on trust and shared purpose. Just as hope began to wane, Colin received a transmission from Outpost 47. The rescue team was en route, but time was running out. With the Zarians closing in, they had to make a stand. Colin prepared for the final confrontation, his mind sharp and focused. He wouldn't let them take Erin, no matter the cost. The Zarians launched their assault, but Colin and Erin were ready. Using her abilities sparingly, Erin provided critical support, healing Colin's injuries and strengthening their defenses. Colin's quick thinking and strategic use of their surroundings allowed them to hold the enemy at bay. The battle was fierce, but their determination never wavered. As the Zarian leader made a desperate move, revealing their true intentions to exploit Aaron's powers, Colin and Aaron executed their final plan. They used Aaron's healing ability to create a powerful diversion, incapacitating the Zarians long enough for the rescue team to arrive. The cost was high, leaving Aaron severely weakened. Back at Outpost 47, Aaron received the medical care she needed to recover. Colin faced the consequences of his unauthorized mission, but his bravery and innovation earned him newfound respect. Aaron decided to stay at the outpost, using her abilities to help others in a safe environment. Their bond, forged in the heat of conflict, remained strong. The ordeal had transformed Colin. He emerged as a more seasoned and empathetic medic, driven by a deeper understanding of his duty to protect and heal. The experience had shown him the power of compassion and the strength found in unity, setting the stage for future challenges and triumphs. Colin and Aaron huddled in the cave, the howling winds outside creating an eerie symphony. Colin's mind raced with strategies to outmaneuver the Zarians. The odds were against them, but he couldn't afford to dwell on that. His focus was on survival and protecting Aaron. He examined her injuries again, noting the slow but steady healing. Aaron's iridescent skin still shimmered faintly, a testament to her unique physiology. Her breathing was more regular now, but Colin knew she was still vulnerable. As he tended to her, Aaron shared more about her escape from the Zarians. They had captured her for her healing abilities, hoping to exploit them for their gain. Colin listened, his respect for Aaron growing with each word. She had endured unimaginable suffering yet remained resilient. Her strength gave him hope. "We need to find a way off this planet," he said, his voice determined. Aaron nodded, her eyes reflecting a mixture of fear and resolve. Outside, the Zarians combed the area, their harsh voices carrying through the storm. Colin knew they were running out of time. He checked his supplies, realizing they were dangerously low. They needed to move soon, but the hostile environment made any attempt at escape perilous. Colin decided to use the storm to their advantage. He crafted makeshift decoys using their limited resources, hoping to lead the Zarians away from their hiding spot. As he worked, he explained his plan to Aaron. "We'll create distractions to buy us time. When the moment is right, we'll head to higher ground and signal for help." Aaron agreed, her trust in Colin evident. Together, they set the decoys and prepared to move. The storm's intensity increased, making visibility nearly impossible. Colin took Aaron's hand, guiding her through the rocky terrain. Each step was a struggle against the wind and rain, but they pressed on. Suddenly, a bright light pierced the darkness. The Zarians had spotted one of the decoys. Colin and Aaron used the distraction to their advantage, climbing a steep incline to a higher vantage point. From there, Colin activated a distress beacon, hoping the signal would reach Outpost 47. Their reprieve was short-lived. The Zarians quickly realized the decoy's ruse and resumed their search with renewed vigor. Colin and Aaron had to keep moving. They navigated the treacherous landscape, each obstacle testing their endurance. As they reached a narrow ledge, the ground beneath them began to give way. Colin grabbed Aaron, pulling her to safety just in time. The collapse echoed through the canyon, alerting the Zarians to their location. Colin cursed under his breath, knowing they were running out of options. In the distance, a familiar sound brought a glimmer of hope. The outpost's rescue shuttle appeared, its lights cutting through the storm. Colin activated his beacon again, signaling their location. The shuttle's response was immediate, altering its course toward them. The Zarians, realizing their prey was about to escape, launched a final assault. Colin and Aaron took cover behind a rocky outcrop, the enemy's energy blasts narrowly missing them. The shuttle's arrival was their only chance. Colin knew they had to hold out a little longer. The shuttle landed with a thud, its doors opening to reveal a team of medics and security personnel. They quickly formed a defensive perimeter, returning fire and providing cover for Colin and Aaron. Colin helped Aaron to her feet, guiding her toward the shuttle. The Zarians made one last desperate push, but the shuttle's security team held them at bay. Colin and Aaron boarded the shuttle, the doors closing behind them with a reassuring hiss. As the shuttle lifted off, Colin felt a wave of relief wash over him. They were safe, at least for now. Back at Outpost 47, Aaron was rushed to the medical bay. Colin monitored her condition closely, his worry easing as she began to recover. The outpost commander debriefed him, acknowledging the risk he had taken but commending his bravery and quick thinking. Aaron's recovery was slow but steady. She decided to stay at the outpost, her abilities offering a unique opportunity to help others. Colin, too, found a renewed sense of purpose. The bond forged between them in adversity was strong, a testament to their shared ordeal. Colin's days at Outpost 47 settled into a routine, but the threat of the Zarians never left his mind. He remained vigilant, aware that their pursuit of Aaron was far from over. Aaron's recovery progressed slowly, and as she regained strength, she began to help around the medical bay, her unique abilities proving invaluable. Colin admired her resilience and dedication to assisting others despite her own hardships. One evening, as Colin reviewed the latest scans of the surrounding space, a warning signal interrupted his thoughts. The Zarians were back, their ship detected at the edge of the outpost sensors. Colin's heart pounded as he realized the gravity of the situation. They had to act quickly to protect Aaron and the outpost. He alerted the outpost security team, coordinating a defense plan. The Zarians' tactics were ruthless, and Colin knew they would stop at nothing to capture Aaron. As he briefed the team, he couldn't help but feel a sense of responsibility for bringing this danger to their doorstep. The weight of his decisions pressed heavily on him, but there was no turning back. Aaron approached Colin, her eyes filled with determination. "I can help," she said, her voice steady. "I won't let them take me without a fight." Colin nodded, appreciating her courage. Together, they prepared for the imminent confrontation. The Zarian ship landed with a thunderous roar, and armed soldiers poured out, their intentions clear. Colin and the security team took their positions, ready to defend the outpost. Aaron stayed close to Colin, her presence a source of strength for him. As the first wave of Zarians advanced, Colin utilized his medical knowledge in unconventional ways. He had set up makeshift barriers and traps using medical supplies and equipment, slowing the enemy's progress. The security team engaged the intruders, their weapons blazing in the dim light of the outpost's corridors. Colin and Aaron moved through the outpost, providing support where needed. Aaron's healing abilities were crucial, revitalizing injured defenders and keeping the fight going. Her powers were extraordinary, but Colin could see the toll they took on her. He urged her to conserve her strength, knowing they needed to endure. In the midst of the chaos, the Zarian leader, a towering figure with a menacing presence, pushed forward. His eyes locked onto Aaron, and he charged with a relentless intensity. Colin stepped in front of her, determined to protect her at all costs. The fight was brutal. Colin used every ounce of his training and resourcefulness, but the Zarian leader was formidable. Just when it seemed Colin might be overwhelmed, Aaron stepped forward, her hands glowing with a radiant light. She unleashed a powerful wave of energy, forcing the leader back and giving Colin a chance to regroup. The Zarian leader, realizing the strength of his opponents, retreated, signaling his forces to fall back. The outpost had withstood the assault, but the threat was far from over. The Zarians regrouped outside, preparing for another attack. Colin and Aaron took a moment to catch their breath. The outpost's defenders were exhausted, but their spirits were high. They had repelled the initial assault, but Colin knew they needed a long-term solution. They couldn't keep fighting off waves of Zarians indefinitely. As they strategized, a sudden idea struck Colin. He proposed using the outpost's communication array to send a distress signal to nearby Allied forces. If they could hold off the Zarians long enough, reinforcements might arrive to tip the balance in their favor. Aaron agreed, and they quickly set to work. Colin modified the communication array, boosting its signal strength and encrypting the message to ensure it reached their allies without interception. Aaron stood guard, her senses alert to any approaching threats. The Zarians launched their second assault, But this time the defenders were ready. Colin and Aaron coordinated their efforts, using the environment to their advantage. The outpost's corridors became a battleground, with each room and hallway fiercely contested. As the battle raged on, Colin activated the distress signal, sending it out into the void. He could only hope that their message would be received in time. The Zarians pressed their attack, but the defenders held firm, their resolve unbroken. In a decisive moment, Aaron used her abilities to create a protective barrier, buying them precious time. Colin and the security team regrouped, mounting a final defense. The Zarians, relentless and determined, broke through the barriers, but their momentum was slowed. Just as it seemed the outpost might fall, a message came through the communication array. Reinforcements were on their way. Colin felt a surge of relief and determination. They had to hold out just a little longer. The sounds of the approaching Zarians grew louder, the air heavy with anticipation. Colin and Aaron, standing side by side, steeled themselves for the imminent confrontation. They had withstood the first wave, but the enemy was relentless. The distress signal had been sent, and now they had to hold out until reinforcements arrived. Colin adjusted his grip on his makeshift weapon, a repurposed medical tool, his mind racing through possible strategies. The outpost's corridors, usually so sterile and calm, were now battlegrounds. He glanced at Aaron, who nodded, her resolve clear. She had healed as many of the wounded as she could, but the effort had taken its toll. Her energy was waning, yet her spirit remained unbroken. The Zarians launched their assault with renewed ferocity, determined to breach the defenses. Colin and the security team fought back, every action calculated to maximize their limited resources. Aaron, though drained, used her abilities sparingly, each burst of energy critical in repelling the invaders. Her bravery inspired those around her, and the defenders rallied, pushing back with everything they had. Colin's medical knowledge proved invaluable. He had set up a series of traps throughout the outpost, using his understanding of physiology and biomechanics to create obstacles that slowed the Zarians. As they advanced, they triggered pressure points that released bursts of anesthetic gas, incapacitating them temporarily. It wasn't much, but it bought them precious time. In the heart of the outpost, Colin and Aaron found themselves facing the Zarian leader once again. The towering figure, cloaked in dark armor, moved with a predatory grace. Colin knew this would be their toughest challenge yet. He stepped forward, ready to protect Aaron at all costs. The leader struck with brutal efficiency, and Colin barely managed to evade the initial onslaught. The fight was intense, each movement a test of skill and endurance. Aaron, summoning the last of her strength, created a protective barrier that deflected the Zarians' most lethal attacks. Colin seized the opportunity, using his medical tool as a weapon, aiming for the weak points in the armor. The battle raged, the outcome uncertain. Just when it seemed they might be overwhelmed, the outpost's alarm signaled the arrival of reinforcements. Allied forces poured in, their presence a much-needed surge of hope. They engaged the Zarians with precision, turning the tide of the battle. The Zarian leader, realizing defeat was imminent, made a desperate move to capture Aaron. Colin intercepted, using his body as a shield. The impact knocked him to the ground, pain searing through him. But his sacrifice allowed Aaron to channel her remaining energy into a final, powerful burst, driving the leader back and disabling his armor. With the Zarians in disarray, the Allied forces secured the outpost, taking the invaders into custody. Colin, injured but alive, watched as Aaron collapsed, her strength spent. He crawled to her side, his heart pounding with fear. She had given everything to protect them. Medics rushed in, stabilizing Colin and Aaron. The outpost, though battered, had held firm. Colin's vision blurred as he was lifted onto a stretcher, relief washing over him. They had survived, and the outpost was safe for now. In the following days, the outpost returned to a semblance of normalcy. Repairs were underway, and the wounded were tended to. Colin and Aaron were hailed as heroes, their bravery and sacrifice honored by all. Aaron, though weakened, began to recover, her resilience shining through once more. Colin, too, found himself changed by the experience. The ordeal had tested him in ways he had never imagined, but it had also revealed a strength within him he hadn't known existed. His bond with Aaron deepened, rooted in the shared struggle and unwavering support for one another. As the days passed, the threat of the Zarians faded, but the lessons learned remained. Colin continued his work at the outpost with renewed vigor, his purpose clearer than ever. Aaron stayed, using her abilities to help others in a controlled and safe environment, her presence a beacon of hope and strength.